Welcome to the 2019 Charles Schwab Challenge in Fort Worth at Colonial Country Club. Here's some footage of defending champion Justin Rose at his press conference.
Champion of the Charles Schwab Challenge, Justin Rose. Justin, welcome back. If we could just get some comments about your return to Colonial.
Yeah, obviously great to be back here. You know, it was a special week for me, obviously last year. Played some of probably my best golf, certainly on the PGA Tour that I can remember. 20 under par. Have my name now on the wall, you know, on the first tee. Obviously it's an honour because there's so many great names on that wall, and I saw it today for the first time. It was a cool moment. So always good to be back at, at a classic, brilliant venue, but definitely somewhere where you've won before.
I'm sure you saw on the course already the 1973 Dodge Challenger goes to the winner this week. Is that an extra incentive to defend your title this week?
Well, I had the good fortune of playing 9 holes with Charles Schwab himself today, and I told him, man, what were you doing last year? But it was cool to hear the story about the 73 Challenger, and obviously I think that's when they started the business with 4 employees, and they were a challenger to the big names, and so he sort of felt like the story behind the Challenger and the name behind the Challenger and the timeline behind it mirrored his company and his rise to what's obviously now a huge organization that is very thankfully sponsoring the PGA Tour.
Great. We'll open it up for questions. Please use the mic if you're going to ask a question. Start right up here in the front.
Justin Davison, four-star Telegram. First off, how do you feel your game is? And second off, Ben Hogan's the only guy who's won back-to-back titles here. What makes it so hard to win consecutive years at a specific tournament?
I mean, I think it's just hard to win, probably. That's the first thing, and then it's hard to win, obviously, the same week 2 years in a row. But it shouldn't be harder to win at the same venue because when you come back to a golf course, obviously some major championships you win, and the following year, you're not even back at the same venue. So I think there should be a greater chance of winning somewhere whether you have already won. So I feel like there's all those good old sayings, horses for courses, or it suits my eye, or it fits my eye. So that should still apply for me this year. So from that point of view, I'd probably say the odds are better than just if it was any other week where I hadn't won before. But I just think it's tough to beat 120 or 156 guys or whatever's in the field every week on the PGA Tour.
Okay, over here.
Hey Justin, Elvis Anderson, WBGD. I watched you play last year with Brooks, and watching you play, it just looked to me like you were really being patient. Is that accurate? And can you talk about it? Talk about your approach to playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, whenever you're playing good golf, it looks patient. You're not making many mistakes. You're able to kind of trust that you're going to have a run of birdies at any point. Your confidence is up. But I think my mentality, especially playing on Sunday, was that I wanted to play as free and as aggressively as the chasing pack. I think I had a 4-shot lead going into Sunday, but I sort of realized that if I go out and play cagey, I don't have a 4-shot lead because the guys behind who are going to be loose and pushing for birdies, they're going to, just through mindset, are going to probably pull back a couple of shots. So I said, why give them that opportunity? I'm going to go out and be as loose and as free as them, and it worked out. I think I shot 64 on Sunday, and I needed to. I think Brooke shot 63 or something.
Fairway woods off the tee. You hit a lot of fairway woods off the tee. Koepka was hitting drivers. I felt like you were playing smart.
Yeah, I think I was, trusting my iron play. I felt like I was aggressive with my irons. Coming into the green, looking for birdies. So, for me, there's golf courses. Again, you can't play it out of the rough. It's a different style of rough to how we face it. Bethpage, for example, but it's more of that ball slightly out of control. You can't control your spin. The greens, here are fairly small. I think last year they played a little bigger because it was pretty soft. You could attack it. But as soon as these greens get firm, you have to keep the ball in play off the tee.
Take one in the back.
Justin, Jonah Javad with WFAA here in Dallas. How do you kind of go from playing Bethpage, which is such a monster, to coming to a course that you've had success at, but it's a different style of course?
Yeah, I enjoyed Bethpage for sure, but it didn't offer any player who wasn't on top of their game much opportunity to scramble. It was kind of all or nothing. You're either playing beautiful golf and you're keeping it in the fairways, and if you were keeping it in the fairways, there were birdies to be had. But if you weren't in the fairway, there wasn't even that opportunity to try and get up and around the green. It was pretty much wedge it out, wedge it on. So I feel like this kind of golf course gives many more players more options. Yes, if you play beautiful golf, you're going to score, but if you need to scrap it around for a few holes, if a few shots go alright, you have those ability to make some great comeback shots. So I think very different style of golf, and they're both good in their own right. I think certainly last week for a PGA Championship, for a major championship, the more severe test is probably what you want. But this kind of golf course, I think, offers every PGA Tour a player in the field an opportunity to do well and to potentially win here. It's a golf course that suits good ball strikers, obviously, but it's not dictated by length as maybe last week was.
And on a completely unrelated note, have you heard much about this 70s theme that's going to be going on tomorrow for Throwback Thursday with the outfits?
Okay, I haven't heard a ton about it, but I have to see what I can...
It sounds like it's an initiative to get golfers to be wearing 70s themed clothing. Do you need a ride to Goodwill right now?
I do, or I just borrow some of Ian Poulter's old stuff. He had that 70s vibe going for a while, I thought, you know.
Will you be participating in that at all, you think?
I better go and see what I got packed. You know what I mean? But that sounds fun. It'd be cool. It'd be fun. So I'm assuming, obviously, with the 73 Challenger and all of that, that's a cool vibe. So it's now making more sense to me than it did. Yeah.
We'll take a question from a junior reporter.
Hi, I'm Victoria Farkas from University of Fort Worth. I was wondering, so how you played today for the practice, basically. Are you going to put that in perspective to how you're going to actually play in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think I like to play well in practice, but I don't always. It doesn't mean if I played poorly in practice, I wouldn't be concerned about tomorrow. Today was important to go out and judge the conditions. It's really very windy out there, but because it's quite warm too, it's just trying to gauge the conditions going into tomorrow. I believe it's going to be a windy week, so I was just trying to sort of understand how the golf course might play and what kind of scoring that there might be out there this week. I don't think it's going to be 20 under like it was last year with the conditions. So I was just trying to get a feel for the course, but I hit enough good shots where I feel like I don't have to go off to the range and try and find my game going into tomorrow. So it was kind of the perfect balance.
Alex?
Justin, speaking of schedule switches here in 2019, obviously the PGA moving to May. Traditionally, before this point, you haven't played weeks after majors or after the Players. Was there any, knowing this week was coming up and obviously you're defending, was there any switch in your mindset having to kind of like emotionally reset after giving your all playing a major style golf course to coming back and playing a week after a major this year?
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't historically played much after a major championship, so I feel for me last week I rolled into that major a little bit more like it was a regular event. I didn't sort of go for the weekend before and really try and grind out the course, because of course I knew pretty well anyway. So and I think I felt pretty fresh last week, but and because of how I prepared for the PGA, I think I'm going to be able to go nicely through the next 2 weeks, because I'm playing next week at the Memorial as well. So I feel like there's good energy, and yeah, I mean last week if you can pick to peak at a major championship, you're going to do that every time. But obviously I feel like this is a 3-week run of golf, and hopefully I'll find my best at some point in this run. But yeah, I mean I like the way the schedule has switched up. It offers the European Tour a decent opportunity at the back end of the season to fit in some good events, not necessarily in Asia but in the UK. And historically I haven't played this event because it's always clashed with the BMW PGA Championship, so the fact that they're not near each other, it gives me the opportunity to really enjoy the Colonial.
Any more questions? All right, thank you for your time and good luck
Thanks.
this week.